welcome to yet another video about Java. This is a very breaking... Hello and welcome to yet another video about Java. This video is going to be introducing some very nice concepts that will allow us to actually use some libraries that are outside libraries. We can download them, we can use them so that we don't have to reuse some of the code that will be needed for the future reference. Of course, as programmers, it is our job to write out some code by ourselves. However, we don't always want to write things out ourselves. We sometimes want to use the code that was used, or rather has been created before. For example, almost everything that I have written out here with HTTP client, with the HTTP response and creating the request is already something that has already been created by other programmers. If I go ahead and control click the HTTP client, then I am taken to the documentation, and this is actually just package that is native to Java, and this is the code that we get within the JDK. So it's very important to notice that even up until this point I have been using some libraries. However, they are all libraries that are still within the scope of the JDK. However, I want to change it and I want to start using some of the libraries that are outside libraries, right? So they have been created by some other people, they have been put on the internet, and thankfully I can then just reuse it because they are free to use. So in order to do that, I will need to fix one thing with my project. And that thing is the system that I'm building it with. Currently it is being built with IntelliJ. I do not have any other build system that would allow me to get any sort of outside libraries. If I wanted to actually manually add the libraries, it would be pretty annoying and it's not very scalable, because I could, in theory, just go ahead and go to the internet and download the specific files that I want to use, but this is 2024 and thankfully we don't have to do it. I will need to modify my project or rather create a new one. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste this API handler, and we're going to create a new project. This time it is going to be, let's call it outside libraries. The biggest change that is going to happen is the fact that the build system from IntelliJ will be set to Gradle. The Gradle DSL, so the language, will be changed to Groovy, and we'll add some sample code. And let's just click create. In the meantime, I will tell you exactly what is happening, because right now the Gradle is building stuff in the background. So let's just wait for that. What does it mean that I'm building stuff with Gradle? Gradle is a great tool used to build projects, to conduct tests, and to manage dependencies, because what we'll be looking at right now is going to be dependencies. So I have created here a usual setup for the project. First of all, what you can see is that we've got the main module and the test module, and everything is already prepared for my future use. For Java, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste the API handler over here so that it's easier for me to use, because we'll be using some outside libraries to be actually able to map out some things. But that's the topic of the next video. So right now what I have is my main. Everything is essentially the same as it would be, right? We've got our production code, we've got our test code, so nothing really out of the ordinary. However, what is very interesting is are those four files that we see here. The settings.gradle, build.gradle, gradew, and gradew.bat. So those are the files that are there and are responsible for managing dependencies, setting up Gradle, and actually helping us out in building the projects. So there are multiple things that we could do with Gradle, and first let's talk about the files that we have on the left hand side. Settings.gradle is actually just the settings file. We'll be using it possibly more in the future. However, right now, don't change anything in here. This is just some default stuff around what is the root project name that we'll be building out. Gradew and then gradew.bat, those are executable files. Don't change anything in them because there is quite a lot of shell scripting in here and we don't want to change it. This is required to actually run Gradle. The most important file for us is going to be build.gradle, because this is the file where we are going to be putting our dependencies. We point out what are the repositories that we are getting our dependencies. So think about it as this is the database and those are the classes and the libraries that we want to use from outside world. In this case, the repository that we're getting is Maven Central, which is the default one, and this is the most widely used. We've got a plugin for Java, for Gradle. We've got our group and version. So if I create a file, an executable file from my Java code here, then of course it will be in version 1.0 dash snapshot, and the group will be org.example. So this is actually the name of the main package that the code is located in. That's where it came from. Of course, I can change it, but not at this point in time. So apart from the dependencies, we're going to be seeing how to actually add things to the dependencies in the next video and using this actually. Let's look at what has been happening here on the right side. You can see at the bottom right, we've got this little elephant that is responsible for Gradle. And thanks to that, we've got information about the tasks that we can use and the dependencies. So one of the dependencies that we've already gotten is the test implementation dependency for JUnit and the JUnit Jupyter. So essentially, those are the dependencies that are available only in the test code. So only in the one marked as green over here. And we can check them out over here. And what those are just actually some packages with the code that we will not be getting into because it is compiled right now. So we don't want to decompile it because then it will be just a bunch of gibberish. I mean, it is readable, however, it is very, very high level. Let's focus a little bit on the tasks. So those are the tasks from Gradle that are basically pre-built. We've got them already with the Gradle installed in our project. But of course, there are possibilities to write out your own Gradle tasks. And what we can do with it, we can build our project. So in the past, whenever we're starting out our code, then we're building it with IntelliJ. Now we are building it with Gradle. We can create a jar out of it. We can build classes. We can clean it. We can build test classes. Then we've got the documentation. So if we have a documentation task, it will also work on it. We've got some help. And for example, if I run the help task, you can see that we've got information about, hey, this is Gradle. You can see more details, and for troubleshooting, visit help. So essentially, this is very straightforward. We'll dive deeper into some more Java, rather Gradle tasks and see some changes in the next video. But for the time being, the most important thing is you know how to create a Gradle project. And everything that we run right now will be run via Gradle. And if we run our main, you can see that this is actually run with Gradle by the elephant in the top left of this. And then we've got our hello world. So there is a little bit of this boilerplate being put here, but this is really not hurting anyone. And I will say that it is working properly. Our API handler as well will be working without any issue. So that's essentially it about how to create a Gradle project and what exactly does it mean. In the next video, we're going to be talking about how to actually use it to get our API responses with HTTP response and then map them out from those pesky JSONs that we can't really do much about into Java objects. So with that being said, thank you very much and see you in the next video.